Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm just going to play again with some colour and see where it takes us. This is a mixture of Phthalo Turquoise and Sodalite Genuine. They are both Daniel Smith colours. Just using the side of my brush to create some organic shapes. Keeping it nice and loose. You'll notice how I'm using my brush. I'm just holding the end of it. And I'm using the side of the bristles, not the tip at this stage. Trying to touch sides, even if it's in a very watery mix. Okay, just going to use that same colour and just drop in. So I'm using the tip of my brush this time. A little bit of clean water, softening off some of those lines. Okay, a little bit of indigo. Adding water. And we'll just add a little bit to some of these puddles. I'm just going to tilt because I want the indigo to be towards the edge. Now the indigo will only run wherever I've previously wet it, unless it's dried already. Water follows water in watercolour painting. Picking up now a little bit of lemon yellow. Just touching a little bit, just here and there. Just letting the colour do its own thing. Now I'm going to use the hairdryer and I'll just move my watercolours to one side. I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit noisy, but I'm just going to use it on a cold setting. So you can see that I've tried to turn the board so that I get runs going in various directions. So I'm going to dry this off now properly, off camera. I won't bore you with that and come back with you when it's dry. Dry and cooled off, so I'm just getting some burnt umber here. Just making sure everything is nice and cold. some water. Rolling the brush gives me some marks, that very organic marks. Working wet on dry. Clean water, just softening off. Now, a colour that works lovely with burnt umber to give us lovely greys is ultramarine blue. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of that. I'm just going to drop a little bit of that in. A little bit more of that burnt umber. And letting that just work its magic. Burnt umber at the top there. And again a little bit of ultramarine blue. Adding a little bit more blue to this area. Don't want it quite as brown as that. And I'm just going to give it a little tip. Now I'm going to use a script liner, which is sometimes called a rigger, and I'm just going to pull out some of those colours. Lovely granulations happening in there. I want to suck up a little bit of that puddle. Keep it on a tilt by just putting something underneath the board to keep the liquid up this end. And I'm just grabbing a couple of tissues and just squeezing my brush dry and just letting it suck some of those colour, not so much the colour, but the water out. I'm going to mix now the ultramarine blue with the burnt umber to get a grey. I want a blue grey though, so a little bit more in the ultramarine in there. Or sorry, ultramarine blue. And we will just start to look at some of these shapes. Just adding a little bit of the brown to that mix, just to warm it up a little bit. And then softening off. A little bit of softening off around here too. Or with just clear water. I'd like to bring that brown over to the edge, so I'm just going to pick up that grey that I mixed earlier and just bringing it through to the edge, and some down in this corner too. Just using what's on the palette. Okay. Just tilting. Will dry off. I'm going to use a hairdryer on a cold setting, just a low setting. We have a Derwent Graphite Aquarelle, and it's a 4B. They work very much like a watercolour pencil, but they're actually graphite. So I thought I'd play with that for a little while. So let's see how we go. So I'm only pressing gently and just building up the graphite a little bit. I'm going to use a small brush with some water. It's a round, so you can see that it smudges quite beautifully. And very much like the Inktense pencils, if you've got anything left on your brush after blending, you can definitely take it to another spot and use whatever's on the brush in that position. So I'm just winging it, no preconceived plans at this stage. I'm thinking that it does look a little bit like a landscape, and maybe we will do that. This could possibly be some sort of tree. I really feel as though I want to extend that out. So let's do that. The beauty about starting off with abstract shapes with no preconceived ideas is that you can look into them, the shapes, and use your imagination. You can turn the work around and you may use it upside down or on the side. So you don't have to stick with, looking at it in the same orientation as what you painted it. I'll cross a few over. And just some little finer ones coming out towards the end. And I'm really quite loving this painting at the moment. It's got a lovely sort of gentle quality to it. I'd like to use these lines somewhere else in the work, so maybe we could just draw some of those lines in. Again, taking some water. I'll make this work a little bit quicker for you and speed it up. I've just got a mechanical pencil here just to put in some of the finer branches. Just using a Water Soluble Graphite in black. I just want that trunk to be that little bit darker. Could use an AB pencil if you wanted to. Mechanical pencil is just not black enough to do that. Okay, let's go on to the next part. I've drawn on some birds, just in a mechanical pencil, just to position them where I want them. And now I'm going to use the indigo along with a little bit of the Sodalite Genuine to give me a lovely dark colour, and just a tiny little O brush. And we will just start to block in the birds. Being very careful where that beak is. I'll just speed that up a little bit for you. I just want to put a little bit of shading under the trees so that they're just not feeling as though they're just plonked on top. Just give them a little bit of grounding. So just adding some of those darker colours. And just softening off with some clear water. You'll notice too that I darkened up the trunk on this one when I was working on the birds. I'm going to give you a close-up of the birds and the rest of the painting. So you'll see that I've made the ones towards the bottom of the painting a little bit darker and just getting lighter as we go away. In fact, the two just up here were just the pencil. There's no paint on those ones. So we'll pop this in a mat and have a look at it, see if it needs anything else doing to it, and then I'll sign it and frame it. Pop this mat on. As I've said to you before in other videos, having a mat makes a huge difference to a painting. I really feel it just needs a little bit more work, just a tiny little bit, in the form of some splattering. So I'll just quickly do that. So I'm just going to use the colours that I've used already. So a little bit of the burnt umber. And remember, for splattering you do need lots of water. So just up in the trees, I'm just going to use my finger, and that will squish some of those really sharp ones. Then they'll look like leaves. A little bit of this Sodalite Genuine. A little bit more water in that. Then I'm going to use some of those lovely colours that I used earlier. So my splatters are all dry. I'm going to pop the mat back on again. Much happier with that look. The splatters have really given it a nice lift. So I will tape that painting back onto the back of the mat board and pop it in a frame and send it off to the gallery soon. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe, that way you'll be notified of any new videos coming up. Hope you've enjoyed watching watercolour using Derwent Graphite pencils. I don't know whether I mentioned, but that was a 4B, and you definitely can get 2Bs, 4Bs, I think right up to 8Bs. Buy them in a little set, but I think you might be able to get them individually too. So have fun playing with your graphite pencils with watercolour, and see you next time. Bye for now.